Government central banks continued their record-sized gold reserve buying for the first quarter of this year, 2024, admitting to have bought over 290 metric tons for the first quarter of this year. That's a little over 9.3 million troy ounces of gold, valued at just over $21 billion in fiat US dollar official gold buying. This recent official gold bullion buying spree by central banks, it's on pace for 1,160 metric tons, becoming the highest net buying in recorded history after 2022 and 2023 respectively. The World Gold Council admitted gold demand in China was up plus 16% in 2023 compared to 2022 demand. And with the price breakout of gold and local fiat Chinese yuan thus far this year, how much do you want to bet that demand growth accelerates? The World Gold Council also pointed out the explosive growth of gold demand in Japan in 2023 compared to the prior year. Now that makes sense. After all, Japan in recent weeks has spent nearly $60 billion propping up their failing fiat yen currency. New line gold mining production numbers by nation are in for 2023, and the Chinese again leads the world, mining over 370 metric tons last year. The United States mined 170 metric tons while being a net exporter of gold, as it has mostly been since the late 1980s. China remains a massive net importer of gold to the tune of around 4 times its internal world-leading gold mining production in order to meet ongoing demand. Since the 2008 global financial crisis, China has been combination mining and importing gold at a clip not seen since the USA's gold buying spree during the World War II era, that which built the foundation for the still dominant fiat US dollar, having defaulted on its final gold tethering in 1971. Physical gold demand in China remains not only robust, but on the Shanghai Gold Exchange, of late, we are seeing physical gold delivery volumes up 2 to 3 times the average levels of delivery volumes seen over the past year. Turning to the USA, late last Friday after the market closed, the FDIC announced the first bank failure of 2024. Republic First Bank Corp. failure cost the FDIC $667 million loss. The mainstream fiat financialized media reported this week that hundreds of U.S. banks, mostly regional according to them, face bankruptcy given the dual threats of commercial real estate loan losses and potential losses due to higher interest rates. Bank failures and further consolidation chaos is not over. Let me remind you again of the concerns expressed during the FDIC's Systematic Resolution Advisory Committee meeting from November 2022.
I mean, it's a little bit conflicted, right? I mean, it's important that people understand they can be bailed in, but you don't want a huge run on the institution. But they're going to be.
People need to know, but I don't think you have much hope of reaching a public that doesn't have a professional need to know.
I completely agree with that. I almost think you'd scare the public if you put this out. Like, why are they telling me this? Should I be concerned about my bank? Like, my insurance company doesn't tell me what they're doing with my assets. If they just assume they're going to pay my claim, right? I think you've got to think of the unintended consequences of taking a public that has more full faith and confidence in the banking system than maybe people in this room do. So there's a select crowd of people that are in the institutional side. And if they want to understand this, they're going to find a way to understand this. There's a bunch of law firms represented in this room. There's a bunch of people that charge them by the hour a lot of money to explain this all to them. And it's fine. I don't have a problem with that. And they all have huge staffs. But I would be careful about the unintended consequences of starting to blast too much of this out in the general public.
While increasing prices remains the most important family financial problem by far, according to USA Gallup polls, here's a clip which caught fire this week featuring Jared Bernstein, a current chair of the White House Council of Economic Advisors, a man on record arguing for the U.S. government to drop its commitment to maintaining the U.S. dollar's reserve currency status.
The U.S. government can't go bankrupt because we can print our own money.
It obviously begs the question, why exactly are we borrowing in a currency that we print ourselves? I'm waiting for someone to stand up and say, why do we borrow our own currency in the first place?
Like you said, they print the dollar. So why does the government even borrow?
Well, again, some of this stuff gets, some of the language that some of the language and concepts are just confusing. I mean, the government definitely prints money, and it definitely lends that money, which is why the government definitely prints money, and then it lends that money by selling bonds. Is that what they do? they sell bonds. Yeah, they sell bonds, right? Since they sell bonds and people buy the bonds and lend them the money. Yeah. So a lot of times, at least to my ear with MMT, the language and the concepts can be kind of unnecessarily confusing, but there is no question that the government prints money and then it uses that money to, yeah, I guess I can't really talk. I don't get it. I don't know what they're talking about. Like, because it's like the government clearly prints money. It does it all the time, and it clearly borrows. Otherwise, we wouldn't be having this debt and deficit conversation. So I don't think there's anything confusing there.
Judging by recent record gold buying over the last 2 years and a quarter, it's obvious by their collective actions. Central banks are taking Mr. Bernstein's bumbling words to heart, buying bullion over fiat US dollar promise piles increasingly so. Hello, this is James Anderson on behalf of SD Bullion. Smash the like button if you enjoy these bullion market updates, and be sure to visit sdbullion.com/sweepstakes to enter our free 500-ounce silver coin giveaway.
Want to win 500 Silver Tree of Life coins from SD Bullion? Enter and you could be the next lucky receiver of a phone call like this.
Hello. Hi, Stuart. This is Dr. Tyler Wall, president and founder of SD Bullion. And I'm calling you to let you know that you won the SD Bullion giveaway of a monster box of 2023 Silver Eagles.
Oh, my God. You got to tell my wife this, because she's not going to believe it. Honey? Okay, doctor, let her know.
Yeah, this is Dr. Tyler Wall. I just let you know that you guys won the monster box of 2023 Silver Eagles giveaway from SD Bullion.
No way.
Yeah.
She would never believe me if I told her that. I'm online all day long with your website looking for deals.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, your site's fabulous and your company's fabulous.
Well, I appreciate that feedback. And we'll be following up with you shortly on getting your monster box shipped to you. Congratulations again.
Thank you, doctor.
So click the link below, because the next big winner could be you.
The spot gold and silver markets sold off slightly on the week. The spot gold price finished the week above $2,300 an ounce bid, and the spot silver price closed just above $26.50 an ounce bid. The spot gold silver ratio ended the week flat at 86. Current chairman of the Silver Institute was in India this past week, speaking in person on behalf of increasing silver demand worldwide. We're going to highlight a few of his key points that he made here. Have a listen.
Welcome back. You're watching Commodity Champions. We now shift focus to the growing silver market. The Silver Institute released a survey for 2024. The report highlights that for the third year in a row, demand has massively exceeded supply in 2023. It also forecasts demand to rise to 1.2 billion ounces in 2024, which, if achieved, would be the second highest level recorded. Earlier, I spoke to Phillips S. Baker Jr., the chairman of Silver Institute and the president and CEO of Hecla Mining. Listen. Gold and silver, almost everything seems to be running up right now. While gold is making all-time highs globally, silver in India has made an all-time high. We're trading at around 88,000 rupees per kg here. How have you seen the dynamics, the fundamentals change in case of silver in last 3 or 6 months?
Well, what's been amazing with silver is the demand that's happened for photovoltaics. It has completely changed silver. If you go back and look at where it was a decade ago, we're now using 3 times as much silver now as we were a decade ago. And it's just continuing to grow year after year.
And would you say that the current prices justify the kind of demand that we're looking at?
Yeah, in fact, what I would expect, given the deficits that we've had for the last 3 years, it's almost 500 million ounces globally is how much we've consumed. It's going to go higher. It's going to go a lot higher. We're going to see silver in U.S. dollar terms above the highest price that it's ever seen, which is just a little less than double where it is today.
His placid $50 an ounce silver spot price forecast that he gives here, mainly citing escalating silver-laced solar power panel demand throughout this decade, basically discounts the wild card of growing investment demand to come as gold rises to unfold fiat numeraire. Eventually, silver follows and outperforms gold.
I would just suggest to you that it's going to take silver in US dollar terms that are approaching, certainly at the levels that you saw in 2011 and 12, which were close to $40 an ounce. It's going to take those sort of prices and higher in order to make any significant impact in supply. You certainly can see this growing easily in a 5 to 10% growth per year on average over the course of the next decade. And what drives that is really the photovoltaics. If you go back 10 years ago, it was 50 million ounces. Today, it's 200 million ounces. Wouldn't be surprised if you look at what people are projecting for solar, wouldn't be surprised to see that number at 1.4, 1.5 billion ounces of silver. Almost as much silver as there are people in India.
Oh, yes. So, Phil, you told me before we started talking that you worked with gold and you worked with silver as well. What is it that differentiates, apart from the pricing part, of course, because while gold is a safe haven, silver does tend to follow, but isn't exactly a safe haven. So how would you look at the characteristics, one? And there is this huge talk about gold and silver ratio at all times. What sense do you make of that?
Yeah, so silver is an interesting metal because it has both industrial characteristics and monetary characteristics. And that's never going to change. You will always have this monetary component to silver. But the big difference is silver, about 55% of it gets used for these industrial purposes. What I think it does is it gives you really kind of the best of both worlds. And in terms of that gold-silver ratio, what makes more sense is sort of the historical average, which is about 50, and we're currently at 83. So if you think about where silver can go in US dollar terms, pretty dramatic.
Oh, it is. Phil, thank you so much for joining us.
The Silver Institute also published research this week tying silver price correlations with copper. And while that has been the case generally since 1990, as they illustrate with data here, there are runs of time where silver store value investment demand drives its performance exceedingly higher. The last 2009 to 2011 run was just a short preview. And while record Indian demand for silver and copper are increasingly climbing record-sized walls as the nation industrializes, price forecasts for copper are now nearing 50% higher next year from levels it's currently reaching. So while we currently have copper prices rising of late to more than 3 times its 1980 high, we still have systemically price-suppressed silver lagging at near half its seemingly ancient 1980 price high at the moment. So allow me to remind you the kind of silver price performance percentage gains the world saw last time the full fiat currency world got called out for its then store of value fraud at the time. So while silver might have the industrial demand winds at its back at the moment, the most important bull case for silver in long term is the coming store of value category 5 hurricane that's coming. That is what promises to push silver to again super high valuation levels that prudent bullion owners one day will be thrilled they had the foresight to position themselves ahead of time. That's going to be all for this weekly SD Bullion Market Update. As always to you out there, take great care of yourselves and those you love. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button and share it with those you love. Subscribe to our channel and hit that alert button so you know when we publish new bullion market updates.